Good morning. Yes, we're down at the Newseum this morning, a new exhibit this morning. Here to talk about its Patty Rule. Tell me, why is this exhibit just on the 1 year, 1968?
Because 1968 was an incredible year in the civil rights movement. Of course, it's the year that Martin Luther King Jr. is assassinated, but it was a year when that spirit of confrontation of the 1960s and moments of civil rights history really hit a peak.
And just inside the exhibit itself, we see all sorts of newspapers. Tell me, what are some of the highlights of the year?
Sure. Well, we start out with the Orangeburg Massacre. This is a story that not a whole lot of people are really aware of. There was a protest by students at a historically black college in South Carolina. They were protesting a segregated bowling alley. Despite the federal laws that said segregation was illegal, there was a bowling alley there that was segregated. They protested it. Police came in. 3 students were shot and killed. This is just a few years before Kent State, but the Orangeburg Massacre is a story that's largely forgotten to history, and this panel here tells a little bit more about that story.
And of course, another aspect of 1968, two major assassinations.
2 major assassinations, Martin Luther King Jr., and then just a few weeks later, Senator Robert F. Kennedy, who's running for president at the time.
And just here in the exhibit, show us what we can see.
Sure. We see, kind of the backdrop of what brought King to Memphis, where he was killed. He was coming in support of a sanitation workers' strike. The sanitation workers there were largely African American, and they were poorly paid and poorly treated. He comes to support this march. He goes and gives a seminal speech in which he says, "I know we're going to get to the promised land, but I may not get there with you." And then, shockingly, the next day, he is struck down by an assassin standing on the balcony at the Lorraine Motel. This unleashes anger and anguish around the country. Riots break out all across the country, and then you see sort of images of that. Here from Washington, D.C., of course, people know that that happened in a big way here.
And over here, another protest. Tell us about this one.
Yeah, in October at the Mexico City Olympics, 2 American athletes, medal winners in track and field, decided that they are going to take a stand for human rights. And so when they're on the deck to accept their medals, while the national anthem is playing, they raise their fists, black glove fists, in a moment of support for human rights everywhere. It was a moment that shocked the world, certainly shocked the sports world, and it echoes today in the Take a Knee movement that we're seeing that athletes are doing in the NFL.
Definitely 50 years later, so much that still resonates today. Reporting live from the Newseum, Sarah Consmo, WUSA 9.